So, there are a grand total of four of my ships that I consider to be destroyers, which I have not yet reviewed in a video. And considering that I have a lot of ships and I don't really want to keep milking all of my ships for content, I'm just going to do all the rest of my destroyers as one big video. So here it goes. This is probably not going to be edited that much, but it is what it is. So we've got four of these guys in front of me. This first one is the Endurance, the DCF Endurance. This was built as the first ship right out of Warfare 2. You can see it in all of my ships video, but I never went inside, so that's kind of what changes between here and there, is that I'm going to go inside and just kind of go a bit more in-depth of these ships, and also this ship I don't think even appeared in the first place. So, yeah, a little bit more in-depth, and it's going to be better. So this ship, once again, Warfare 2 things. I originally had this from an old cargo hauler. I kind of retrofitted it. I replaced a lot of the cargo containers with this mounting spot here. That's pretty much it. It's back here. It's over here on the sides. And are these still on pistons? No, they aren't. These used to be on pistons. They would extend out of the sides. They aren't anymore, which means it's a little bit difficult to dock, but it is what it is. So this ship, it was like, the first of its kind. I really prioritized upward thrust. This ship was also the first ship with, like, meta attempts at it, even though I didn't really know how spin twin worked at that time. I just got into combat and was like, hey, upward thrust works really well and I can dodge shots, so I figured I might as well go and do that. And considering that Yaki was also doing the exact same thing with his Oshika, except just thrusting sideways, it made sense to kind of follow the direction he was going, because he was the person I kind of followed to help me. Or maybe not help, but, like, he was the person whose innovations hit me in PvP combat. And while they weren't really, like, innovations, they were innovations compared to what I had seen. So I kind of just saw what he was doing and, like, okay, let's build a ship that does that, but better. And that was my philosophy going through. If you can beat the Oshika, you're better than Yaki, was the philosophy. This ship was also one of the first ships that I, like, greebled, and it saw a lot of emergences of my newer greeble tactics that I knew that I used more often. For example, heat vents. I just barely gotten heat vents. Beam blocks. I haven't used this, like, beam block and then grid catwalk on top, because it kind of hides the beam blocks, and you want the beam blocks to show out. But you also want the catwalks to show out, and it's kind of like removes the beam block significance here. Obviously, putting stuff on pillars like this is stuff I've done. These side flaps, or butt flaps, or whatever you want to call them, I don't really do them. And I think that these top piston parts here are a little bit spammed. But aside from that, I think the ship went pretty well. It had a decent amount of beam block usage, not too much should call it spam, but not little, where it's like, oh, there's just one random beam block here, why does that happen? So yeah, it was also done with a 4-color scheme. So we've got yellow and we've got white. The original ship I based it off of was also a 4-color scheme. It had blue, white, gray, and light gray. So you can see the dark grays here are kind of around these darker areas. The yellow is in most places the accent color, and also right here, which is where it's supposed to mimic hydrogen tanks. Or at least that's where the hydrogen tanks were. And then the white is like as a third accent color, although I don't really need the white at all. So that's this ship. I also use custom turrets. Custom turrets are really annoying. They cause wacky gyroscope things. I don't really play around with them that much. You also can't print them, which means, like, this ship really isn't viable. For armament, it's got these artillery turrets. It's got these custom turrets, which, albeit once you get close enough, they can deal some damage. But for the most part, I don't rely on them. And it's got these assault cannon turrets. And at the front, we have these artillery. They're in these passage blocks. It's the best way I could think of to make them look cool. And I believe they do have welders on them if I go back here. I should be in spectator cam, but you can see like the welder kind of if I get to the side here. It's right at the middle left corner of the screen there. So yeah, that's this ship. One last thing, I'm going to go inside. To get inside, you kind of have to float down through here. The door is pretty concealed, and the ship is relatively Hydro-Man resistant. Considering we've got like these turrets here and stuff. And you get in, and yeah, we're in the ship. It's very gyroscopically maneuverable for a long story. It's very gyroscopically maneuverable because it's a long story that I really do not wish to share. And it can spin around, it can fire, you know, the whole shebang. It was pretty effective. However, it doesn't have railguns, so it can't really hit targets that are moving fast and far away. And it doesn't have a lot of frontal weapons, which means when it really comes down to it, this ship cannot deliver in combat. This next ship is the HDI light cruiser. This was kind of developed to see if I could counter an Ares heavy gunships by building a ship that's similar in size. Let's see if I can find it here. This being the Ares gunship. On top here, it's bigger, but it packs significantly more firepower with 3 railguns instead of the 2 of the Ares gunship, and a stupid amount of artillery turrets. This is what I would call a siege craft, because it's mostly designed to shoot at targets that can't really dodge your artillery fire or get in super close. It also has a ridiculous amount of upward thrust, and it might even be seeing use in the future. Maybe on a server, but I don't know. It doesn't have an interior. This is just the cockpit. As you can see, lots of upward thrust. You can dodge out pretty much anything. Railguns and a lot of guns. If I had to count here, there is 12 of these artillery turrets, which for a ship this size is quite a lot. Yeah, that's this ship. Next, we have the infamous Revenant. The original, not the newer one. So, the original was red. It's this one here. I built it for the DCF fleet to be like an enemy in a cinematic. However, the cinematic never happened. But the ship was still there, and I think it was somewhat interesting, so I'm like, whatever. I'll just paint it up and publish it. And it got into the guide video, which was the video that originally was like, hey, you gotta do something about Luca. So then I made a video that had a lot of controversy, and then, oh no, I've got 300 subscribers now. Where did that come from? It's pretty decent of a ship, but it's not really suited for actual ship-to-ship combat. It has this, it only's got 4 artillery turrets, or fixed artilleries here, which is less than this ship here. It can't really hit fast-moving targets, and it's got less firepower than that ship too, with it only having 8 of these big artillery guns and 4 of these Gatling turrets. It's really not the best suited for combat. This is much more of a small mobile base or a roleplay ship. I didn't want to make it super armored or armed. It wasn't really necessary, because that would ruin its look for the cinematic. So yeah, the paint job that was not red was kind of rushed. I think having this be gray and this be blue was a stupid decision. I'm not going to make that again, but I also don't really want to update the blueprint, so I'm not going to undo it either. These turrets in here, thank you, Major John. You have some great ideas using turrets on other blocks to be able to put them in places where they shouldn't be. I stole that from one of his ships, and then I haven't gone back since because turrets on rotors are stupidly easy to set up, even in survival, and they're fun. And also, you can put them in spots like this, where they don't look as ugly as if they were just sitting out there on the cold. So now whenever I do Gatlings, I put them like that. This ship also has a completely full interior, and I'll go show that to you in a second. We've got a lot of forward thrust here. Once again, a look cool ship, not really a combat ship. So I've got a lot of forward thrust and not much up thrust. I've only got like enough to barely fly on Earth, which is enough to dodge shots, but when you want to get closer in order to get these artilleries to hit, that's not close enough. I think that's going to cover the ship's exterior. Going inside, we have an airlock. Oh, how cool. Because all these turrets have welders on them. When the welders are on, the ship cannot be boarded in conventional means. You will literally die just standing here in the airlock. This is the inside. We've got a big room here with one of my fighters on the console there. I'm going to start by going forward. For starters, toilet. Because you gotta take a poop sometimes. And I wouldn't want to do that on the floor over here. I want to do that in a place that's specifically designed to suck feces out into the depths of space. In here we've got engineering. It's a little bit dark. You can just access some components, weld up the jump drive, you know, this thruster. It's not really needed, but it's there. Moving forward, we've got this, like, kitchen area with just essentials, survival kit, access to cargo. You can see the refinery through the walls here. Yeah. Under here is the floor, bedroom, sleep, log off from the servers or something. I don't care. Do whatever. The gravity generator is also in the ceiling here, and this is the main control thing, and then this is for the doors. Going upstairs, we have access to the bridge, and I think this is one of the coolest bridges I've done up to this point. If you look at it from the... Oh wow, my spectator camera is moving fast. If you look at it from the exterior, I think it blended pretty well into the hull, albeit it has a bit overused amount of glass. But when you're inside the bridge, that works perfectly fine, and it makes it seem really spacey and nice and everything. Button panels, because Greeble, they don't have anything on them. It is what it is. And then this kind of around design, I thought was pretty cool. Albeit, it would have been easier to just slap a ladder here and put a block on top and have a much more open space rather than this cramped stuff. In here, there really wasn't much to do, so it was just some of these lockers, armories. And here's the back door, which leads out onto the pad. Luca, in her video, said, I don't see why anyone would need two connectors. Well, here's why. This is a survival ship, right? This thing connects to your base or your station or whatever it is. This thing connects to your miner. You might want to have your miner on your ship when you're going to another base. Or when you're going to one of the NPC stations. This miner stays here. Base goes there. This is it. Yeah, that's the Revenant, the original. And finally, the one that I think most people have been waiting for. The Avalon Fleet Destroyer. Oh boy, this is originally kind of a build challenge with Severs. I built a shell which had 27 railguns in it, and I'm like, without changing the placement of the railguns, make this ship look as good as possible. Or make this block look as good as possible. Severs never actually got around to doing the challenge, which means I won. Legitimate. If he ever gets around to actually doing it, he's going to win, for sure. That's just Severs being Severs, but, you know. The ship is one of my favorites. Is it combat capable? Probably not. As you might notice, it doesn't have much thrust. thrust. It has some upwards thrust, but this is about all the upwards thrust I could fit across the entire body section, because all these railguns were packed in such a bad way. But this was kind of a learning experience for me for all of these railguns. I used them to, or at least use the lessons I learned from this ship to be able to make more effective railgun ships, in a way, in the future, so that I've got more thrust in places, and everything's just a little bit easier. This ship doesn't have a bridge, it's just got a CIC that's, like, right here. And it has, once again, all 27 railguns, so it's a beast. It can destroy a lot of things very quickly if you're not careful. These green panels on the exterior were kind of a first for me. I've never really done them before. I thought they looked pretty cool, especially with all the rounded stuff here on the sides. And then, usual physics don't apply thing right here, where you've got this layer at this level, and then it does a slope in, and now you're at this level. And it usually reveals some component on this side, which in this case happens to be an RD turret. The only RD turret on the entire ship. The turrets aren't really effective. This is a 2-kilometer sniper. That's all it does. We've also got these side thrusters kind of embedded here because I realized this thing needs way more thrust and it doesn't have enough. So I put those there to give it more thrust. That's about it. It dodges sideways. It actually dodges faster than the Matsumoto, which is the standard I'm using, because if it can out-dodge Yaki, then it's gotta beat Yaki, right? Well, it doesn't. It's too wide. But, you know, it's got a lot of forward thrust. I had plenty of aft space to be able to put stuff. But in this normal side profile, the railguns are taking up too much. I can't put thrusters anywhere else. And I don't have enough space for upward thrusters, so its maneuverability is still, once again, kind of sad. I'm going to go inside now. This is a non-pressurized area in here. This ship needs to have a lot of power generation, so you'll notice batteries stuffed literally everywhere. And it has 2 volt reactors. Here's some welders. These just keep the railguns welded up. It's really useful, especially when I don't have the time or the space or the thrust to be able to afford to put heavy armor in front of all these guys. It only has 1 hydrogen tank. That's why I gave it some ion backups, just in case it does run out of hydrogen. And just another reactor here, and then the back door. Going up the stairs, salvo script, which is really useful. This ship was kind of designed with salvo in its mind. It fires its railguns one after another. I kind of like it that way. It makes it so you've got continuous firing throughout the battle. However, at some point in the battle, I usually like to turn it off and just switch to single firing mode, because the railguns will become too damaged to be able to keep up a consistent salvo, and it just won't really work well. So that's how it is. You have the CIC here. It's not much. It's just a hole with a cockpit in it, and a shameless plug, my Discord, which will be in the description. Okay, that was the most shameless of them all. Yeah. I don't really want to salvo them. I think that would be annoying. So here we go. The ship doesn't really dodge up, it doesn't really dodge to the side, but it mostly. But that's how I do it. Space and stuff. So, railgun. Actually, let's test damage. What should I test it on? You know, of course, what I'm testing it on. If I can find it, of course. That one's too small. There we go. We're just gonna blow Luca's ship up from the side. And you might be saying, well, a side shot wouldn't be realistic. Yes, it would, because Luca always puts her ships in this orientation. So she can get broadside firing. You know what? You and your ship can go die in a ball of fire. Oh no, guess what's dead? Yeah, I think I aimed a little bit too low. Anyways, that's this ship, that's everything. This video is really long. I'm gonna go edit it and upload it or something. Anyways, hope you enjoyed.